The news tonight begins in northeastern Nigeria, where an explosion believed to be caused by an improvised explosive device rocked the Friday market in Buni Yadi today, injuring multiple individuals. News Central's Umaru Kirawa reports that the explosion occurred during peak hours, causing chaos and panic among shoppers and vendors. Isa Adamu confirmed to News Central that a young girl stepped on a mine that exploded. The young girl was said to have been rushed alongside other victims to Damaturu, the Yobe State capital, for medical care. The situation, according to Isa, has subsided, with the motive behind the attack unclear, as local authorities have deployed security personnel to the area to manage the situation. And now to update on the planned protests in Nigeria. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has called on groups planning nationwide protests to submit their details to state commissioners of police to ensure a peaceful demonstration. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Egbetokun acknowledged citizens' constitutional rights to peaceful assembly, but emphasized public safety. He urged protest groups to provide proposed routes, assembly points, expected duration, and contact details of leaders. Additionally, groups should outline measures to prevent criminals hijacking and identify potential troublemakers. The police chief says by sharing this information, the police can deploy adequate personnel and resources to ensure safety and avoid conflict with other events. Egbetokun also advised establishing clear communication with police and adhering to global best practices for peaceful protests. In the meantime, the Nigerian police have pledged to prevent violence during the planned nationwide protest on August 1. In a statement issued on Friday, Police Public Relations Officer Josephine Ade announced that the FCT command has deployed 4,200 officers to ensure the protest remains peaceful. The Commissioner of Police FCT emphasized residents' rights to protest, but urged that it be conducted peacefully. They noted that the command has strategically deployed both material and human resources throughout the nation's capital to ensure public safety, protect protesters, and prevent the protest from being hijacked by non-state actors. Now, staying with the protests, the United Bank for Africa has frozen the account of human rights organization Take It Back movement over its involvement in the upcoming End Bad Governance protests. According to the group, the account was frozen on the instruction of Nigeria's secret police, the Department of State Services. Take It Back movement has described the action as lawless and is demanding that the account be unfrozen within 24 hours, threatening legal action against UBA if the demand is not met. The group made this known in a post on its social media handle, vowing to take a stand against the unlawful action. This development comes as Nigerians prepare for nationwide protests against bad governance. The group had earlier written to the Minister of the FCT requesting to use the Eagle Square as convergence point. Meanwhile, over 60,000 youths from the Arewa Integrity Group for Good Governance in north-central Nigeria have decided not to join the planned nationwide protest on August 1. In a statement from Lafia Nasarawa State, the group's leader, Joseph Maiwada, explained that the decision was to allow the federal government time to address citizens' needs and maintain peace. Maiwada also cited appeals from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Ashiru, as a reason for their withdrawal. He urged other protest organizers to reconsider, highlighting the negative impact of past protests on citizens and their livelihoods. Earlier, a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst spoke to us on what the law says about protest. All right, I think we'll bring that extract much later. Let's now tell you that the Northern Youth Frontiers has condemned the House of Representatives' call for the removal of the managing director of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Authority. The group accused lawmakers of self-serving interests, saying they are working to promote the interest of powerful businessmen at the detriment of the regulatory agencies in the country.
For the balance, the House of Reps should also thoroughly investigate how, since the era of President Obasanjo, Dangote has been the only investor buying off all the available black oil in Nigeria refinery, shutting out his rivals, thereby manipulating everything. This is our stand. Nigerians deserve better. We will not stand idly while our lawmakers perpetrate injustice and enthrone monopoly.
Earlier on our flagship breakfast show, global affairs analyst Ejike Okpa shared his insights on the dispute between Dangote and the federal government. He highlighted the value of Dangote's shares listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, putting into perspective by comparing it to some of the world's biggest businesses. While Dangote Cement's market capitalization stands at 10.1 trillion naira, global giants like Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, and Amazon boast market capitalizations ranging from $1.9 trillion to $3.33 trillion. He also noted that Dangote's market value is roughly equivalent to about 0.3% of Apple's market capitalization, a situation he blames on Dangote's business methods.
Refinery steps in the years to this point shows you, there's something wrong with the project itself. When you want to do a refinery, the Dangote refinery is not owned by Nigerian government. Dangote himself does not have access to the crude. I think even when this was announced, I said, okay, how is he going to get to the crude? What's called the feed system. Is it by pipeline, or is it, how is the crude? Because refinery is just basically a chemical process where you take a barrel of something and you turn it into various products. So he still went ahead and did the refinery, and now he's running into the same thing. And that is, for those of us who are into project analysis, is coming back to hurt him. How was he going to get? The Nigerian government said, okay, we're going to supply you this crude at a discount so that you can refine and sell it back to us. Or are you going to buy the crude at the open market rate? But he still went ahead and built the refinery, and now he's stuck. You don't do that. If you go around the world, you see those who do refinery always have access to the crude. And he didn't have that as an agreement in place. I guess he felt, okay, I'm going to do it, and after the fact, and then the after the fact is what is harming him. Whether everybody else is saying Nigeria should support him, the first thing should have been done first. And then what you see with the Dangote is Dangote over the years has become a beneficiary of undue government support, which again is an antitrust and a monopolistic position that has given him advantages over everybody else. So sooner or later, he's going to run into a problem. And that's what the problem is now. He's trying to figure out, what do I do?
Let's move away from the controversy around the Dangote refinery and the disagreement with the regulatory agency to take a look at the planned protest for August 1. To discuss that, I'm joined by Chairman, African Democratic Congress, Legon State, George Ashiru. George, thank you for joining us. Let's begin with establishing your perspective on these protests, to hold or not to hold. And of course, you can add to that quickly your reaction to the ground rules being set by the Inspector General of Police.
Well, it's my pleasure first and foremost to be on this platform. Some technical issues here, so that may affect my presentation. So, but please pick up my voice where that becomes an issue. Well, I think that the protest needs to go on, but I also think that that is because people need to have their rights. We need to practice the democracy of giving people access to their democratic rights. The democratic rights must be respected, which is that they must have the capacity to go on a protest if there's any policy of government that they do not agree with. However, what the government needs to also establish is the protection of the lives and properties of everyone else who is going to be unfortunately affected by this situation. So that's why the army, the DSS, and all the others, that's how they've all come out to say that this protest should not become a riot. Okay,
there's a part of that. The Inspector General of Police is stating some ground rules, asking that they provide the leadership of the group. They should also provide measures that they've taken to avoid it being hijacked by some unscrupulous elements. What are your thoughts on his directive for the peaceful protest on August 1?
Well, there's a necessity, and there must be a necessity for the law enforcement agents and agencies to establish that they are on top of the matter. This is something they've learned from watching protests in other countries like in France, and of course recently in Kenya, where people get violent because, you see, once you get a mob together, and there is what we call a herd mentality, so there may be 100 people protesting, only 5 people are required, 5%, to turn it into a riot, and that becomes a security matter. So yes, the agencies of government need to do what they need to do to protect the lives and properties and the assets of Nigerians and the government of Nigeria while this protest is going on. But I think critically, we also need to establish who are the people protesting and who are the organizers of this protest. Because if we do not have some kind of handle as to who is protesting and who are the, not necessarily the figureheads, but the hearts of this protest, then there is a big possibility that the fears of government may come pass.
On the flip side of that argument, let me just write on your thoughts. On the flip side of that argument, they say there is no leadership, but we have groups like the Arewa Integrity Group and for Good Governance and others coming up to say they are withdrawing from the proposed protest. Isn't it curious that a protest that allegedly does not have leadership have various groups coming up to say that they are pulling out? Some would say this has the inking of a political patronage.
Yes, that's the unfortunate part of it, because then what would then happen is that if this protest becomes a security issue, then it would then be possible for government agencies to begin to pick people randomly with the belief that somehow it's politically motivated and they are behind it. So I think it's better if there are protest groups. You see, all the protests that happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 18 years ago, they had people, in front. They had people that were the, how do you call it now? People that were the faces of the protest, the ones against the initial Quest subsidy issue when Jonathan was in government. We had the groups, they came out, their faces were known, and the supporters was seen, and it was possible for government to have a conversation with them. And all previous protests, whether by NLC, whether by Save Nigeria Group, Civil Liberties Organization, there was always that issue that they have people that they could converse with, and that we could trust if we're going to go out and join the protest. But if I go out to join the protest and I do not know who is behind it, then that would be very dangerous for my own life and for the assets of the people of Nigeria.
Judge, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for speaking with us. We appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you very much, and sorry for the technical issue we experienced.
Now, let's bring you some health matters. The Nigerian government has secured $2.2 billion in external financing for the Nigerian Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative. President Bola Tinubu approved the creation of the sector-wide Coordinating Office Program Management Unit, which will be housed in the office of the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare. According to a statement from Tinubu's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, during Galale. This initiative aims to ensure efficient, transparent and accountable management of the external grants. The unit will report to a steering committee chaired by the Minister of Health, including other key ministers and development partners. The unit will act as the secretariat and delivery unit for NHSRII, headed by a national coordinator. Its functions include program management, monitoring and evaluation, engagement and supervision of independent verification agents, and fiduciary matters. Election stakeholders in Nigeria have raised concerns over the lack of cohesion in political parties in the country, which has resulted in internal conflicts in many of the political parties and might mar the successful governorship polls. This was made known during the presentation of a pre-election security risk assessment report, which tasked the nation's electoral body to increase security ahead of the polls. Idong Joseph tells us more.
With September and November set aside for the governorship polls in Edo and Ondo states, citizens have been tasked to participate in the process of electing candidates of their choice. However, as Election Observation Group, the King Park Development Initiative presents its pre-election security risks assessment report, it expressed worry about violence being witnessed ahead of the polls.
We conducted a research and then we engaged various people in that particular place, and then we've been able to deploy our monitors. In those two states, we have long-term monitors. We've deployed over 100 of them who have been tracking for the past 3 months.
We've already seen what's happening in Edo. Ondo State might be a bit quiet at this time, but you know what election is like in Nigeria, and that's why it's always good to have this pre-election assessment.
Unlike previous election that electoral violence increases, then it shows that there is a lot of issues in the state around cultism. There are a lot of issues in the state around sporadic gunshot that we can't even lay claim to say this is where it is coming from, killings of even rivalry, court clash and all of those.
Stakeholders present urged election managers to make use of the report to ensure that the polls are violence-free.
Beyond the data, the information is getting to the right quarters and the right institutions to ensure that we are putting through peace-building mechanisms, that we are working to mitigate violence, but also ensuring that there is accountability for the people who get engaged in electoral violence.
The chairman of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters also took the opportunity to call for a partnership that will ensure violence-free elections.
We all have a role to play, and all of us, I can assure you that we, on our parts, are going to play our own role there.
According to experts here, the findings of the report will provide valuable input for stakeholders involved in the management of elections in the forthcoming polls to make effective planning and provide mitigation strategies to avert violence. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Many thanks, Idong. The Independent National Electoral Commission has confirmed its ability to oversee local government elections across the country, contingent upon receiving sufficient funding and resources. This assurance comes in the wake of a recent Supreme Court ruling that secures financial autonomy for local governments. In response, there is growing support for the dissolution of State Independent Electoral Commission, with many in favor of INEC solely managing polls at the local level. News Center's Igbalanyi Omoni reports.
Described as significant judicial intervention, the Supreme Court's decision on the local government autonomy case, issued on July 11, 2024, has sparked ongoing debate.
Call it local government emancipation judgment, because it has really emancipated the local government from, the shackles of the past.
The Supreme Court has spoken, and we have no option than to abide by the Supreme Court ruling.
Some experts argue that this ruling undermines state governments while bolstering the central government. In contrast, governors have welcomed the decision for its clarity and direction.
Compliance is a given, and our attorney generals have applied for the enrollment order, which we'll study carefully. But by and large, governors are happy with the devolution of power in respect to local government autonomy. It relieves a burden on governors.
There are growing concerns about granting the Independent National Electoral Commission the authority to oversee all local elections, as opposed to delegating these responsibility to state commissions. Questions remain regarding INEC's capacity to handle this expanded role.
So it is up to the National Assembly to amend the law to transfer that responsibility to INEC. If that is done, the question is, can INEC cope? Because we have also been saying that we should be unbundled. That is true, but we have never said that we should be unbundled beyond the conduct of electoral activities.
INEC has highlighted the necessity for increased funding to manage off-cycle elections in Edo and Ondo State, as well as any potential local elections.
We, as a commission, cannot submit an appropriation bill to the National Assembly. What we do is to approach the executive, and we have approached the executive. Approval has been given, and we have been assured any moment from now, money will be released for the election activities in Edo, Ondo, as well as the 7 outstanding by-elections.
Although local governments have gained increased autonomy, the process of electing ethical and competent leaders remains contentious. Minister of Finance Wale Edun has also noted that the direct transfer of local funds from the Federation account may encounter practical impediments. In Lagos, for News Central, Igbalani Omani.
Some select civil servants in Abia State have concluded their week-long digital training in Umuahia, aimed at teaching them better ways of executing assignments using updated technology. The workers, who are drawn from various ministries, departments and agencies, are optimistic that the knowledge the workshop exposed them to will enhance their productivity. Some of the major areas taught to the workers by various resource persons are the use of AI, cybersecurity, and others. The participants are expected to unbundle the training once it's over for others in the service.
I expect a better and more productive staffs in their place of work, that they use the skill learned within this course of training and then apply it to their day-to-day activities and even their office work for ease and better productivity.
Civil servants will be able to measure up to their mates in other states. At the end of this training, I'll be more efficient, or we will be more efficient and effective in carrying out our duties as civil servants.
The civil servants will be improved digitally because the world is going out from this analog age. We are in the 21st century where everything is all about digital, everything is all about computer, everything has gone jet age. So if we want to move on, we need to catch up. We need to catch up, and in catching up, we need to improve ourselves.
A section of a 9-story building has collapsed in Asaba, the Delta State capital, leaving 1 dead and several others with various degrees of injuries. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu has details.
Building collapse has become frequent across Nigeria recently, and Asaba, the Delta State capital, has recorded the most recent case. The 9th floor wall of this building, believed to be hotel, caved in with construction workers on site and work ongoing. Mohammed Abdurazak's brother, who didn't survive the accident, was among others that came to work at this building site this morning. By giving account of what transpired, Mohammed said his brother was working with cement mixer engine when the walls of the 9th floor collapsed on him and killed him on the spot.
They work for down. I'm the operator with the town concrete. Okay. Understand? I'm the town concrete, and the thing fall. And that time, no, in the work someplace in the and it's out of engine. No, even something will fall for up. Understand the thing come fall and die there.
Another eyewitness also gave account of what caused the collapse.
We were inside when suddenly we had a noise, a sound of something falling. So everybody rushed out. So we discovered that part of the parapet, the up there, fell off. So, and unfortunately, it fell on one of the workers there.
Some residents of the area had this to say.
Unfortunately, I live in this area, and this building has been ongoing. This is a residential area. And looking at the building, you can see the structures are poor. I've raised several concerns to urban renewal, to different ministries. 2 days ago, I was here with project monitoring to look at it. The project monitoring in the state shouldn't just be looking at government facilities alone, but they should also look at private facilities.
The commercial areas where hotels are over there. I don't know how they got approval for that.
I found out that the work is a very poor job. Even as far as, if you see the building, even you don't have to be a professional to know that this work is defective. And they are rushing a project without proper reinforcement. So it's very sad. And you can see the complaint of everybody around the neighborhood.
Meanwhile, the State Commissioner for Urban Renewal came to the site to seal off the building.
There will be an integrity test, and the result will be made to the public.
The building site has been sealed already by the state government. In the days ahead, investigation will reveal if this building has government approval within this residential area. In Asaba, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Lagos, Nigeria, is a bustling metropolis known for its vibrant culture and economic opportunities. But behind its dynamic facade lies a growing problem that threatens its sustainability, the waste crisis.
Growing cities in the world, with a population that has more than tripled in the last 3 decades. This rapid urbanization has led to overcrowded urban areas where infrastructure struggles to keep pace with the rising demand for services, including waste management.
The waste generation is a function of the size. If you have the family size of 2, the volume of waste they are going to generate can't be compared with the family size of 6 or thereabout. So with the increase in the number of people in Lagos, so it is not unexpected that the waste we are going to generate will also increase.
We cannot deny the fact that there's a population explosion in Lagos, and a lot of people just come in from everywhere. Now, when they come in from every part of Nigeria with night bus, you are not exactly sure, and you can't account for them. You don't know where they are staying. They just hide in crevices and uncompleted buildings here and there, and then they defecate openly in all of these places. We have the state government particularly has done a lot of things to champion registration, residence registration, so that state can plan for them. When we know where you are, then we can plan for you.
The city's waste management systems have been overwhelmed by the sheer volume of waste generated daily, as piles of uncollected waste become breeding grounds for disease vectors, posing serious health risks to residents, especially in densely populated areas.
The major issue is that there is no way waste will not be generated. But how do you manage it? So the agency in charge and should do more and keep on working. You don't have to relax because waste will be generated per second. So, and then you must also operate per second. If you operate per hour, it means you're going to have the lag behind, and then it will lead to a lot of problems. The ecosystem that you belong to will determine your well-being. Don't forget that recently there was outbreak of cholera in Lagos.
Addressing Lagos's waste crisis requires a multifaceted approach. Investment in modern waste management infrastructure, community engagement in recycling initiatives, and sustainable urban planning are essential steps towards a cleaner, healthier future for all Lagosians. By tackling the root causes, such as overpopulation and inadequate waste management systems, a way can be paved for a more sustainable and resilient Lagos. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Many thanks, Bettina. A functional marine and blue economy ministry must ensure proper training and education of its maritime workforce, seafarers and other maritime employees. As part of their professional development also, proper remuneration, welfare, health and safety in line with international treaties are essential to boost the working morale of the maritime workers in executing their jobs. Adequate training and certification of maritime industry employees will not only meet the Nigerian maritime industry manpower needs, but will also lead to the export of maritime industry manpower to other parts of the global economy. To this end, stakeholders suggest the urgent need for the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy to establish an overseas maritime employees department within the ministry to cater for the training and certification needs and also facilitate the export of maritime industry manpower from Nigeria to other parts of the world, as seen in the Philippines. This will not only generate employment for Nigerian teeming youths, but also generate the scarce foreign exchange and in addition promote the status of Nigeria among maritime nations.
It's just too unfortunate in the sense that the government too are not looking into that certifications properly by way of discouraging seafarers. We have universities here accredited by government. We have Oron, where all the seafarers attended training program in that place. By the time they graduated, the certificate is not recognized. It is the duty of NIMASA, who have spent what we call millions of dollars to make sure that that school, that Oron school, is being given a facelift. They spend so much. I thank them for doing that. But sometimes there's settlement of a tribal settlement going on in that place too, where the community, whether they are not happy with the person they be appointed as the registrar of the school or whatever, instead of them to focus on how the certificate of that school will be recognized.
More about the need for the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency to address the certificate issuance rejection of Nigerian seafarers, capacity building, seafarers' role in ensuring a just transition to a zero-carbon future, and that earning foreign direct investment from seafarers' export is possible. Watch Maritime Radar on Saturday, 7 p.m., with a repeat on Sunday at 1 p.m. here on News Central. Away from Nigeria, Senegal's Navy has intercepted a boat carrying 200 irregular migrants near St. Louis, just days after a tragic incident off the coast of Mauritania. On Monday, at least 25 people died when a vessel capsized. Earlier this month, nearly 90 people lost their lives when a boat carrying 170 individuals sank off the Mauritanian coast. Despite warnings from the Senegalese Prime Minister about the dangers of these perilous journeys, the route remains popular as surveillance in the Mediterranean increases. According to the Spanish NGO, Caminando Fronteras, over 5,000 people have died attempting to reach Spain by sea in the first 5 months of this year, marking the highest daily average toll on record. The Senegalese army has reported a series of interceptions in recent months, underscoring the ongoing crisis of dangerous migration attempts. Let's now bring you some business update.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business news, Nigeria's Finance Minister Olawale Edu announced plans to issue a diaspora bond worth up to $500 million to stabilize and grow the economy. The bond, denominated in dollars and intended for issuance in the third quarter, aims to attract investments from Nigerians living abroad and those with savings held overseas. African trade ministers at the 21st AGOA Forum in Washington, D.C. urged the U.S. government to eliminate annual reviews of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. They emphasized the need for an expeditious renewal of AGOA by the end of 2024, with enhancements and amendments for at least 16 years. The ministers expressed concerns about the unilateral removal of eligible members from the trade agreement by the U.S. AGOA provides duty-free access to the U.S. market for eligible sub-Saharan African countries. The legislation, set to expire in September 2025, may be extended for 16 years. The National Communication Authority has assured the public that data prices will decrease by the last quarter of the year, addressing concerns over high cost and poor services. This follows criticism of the NCA board, partly due to MTN's classification as a significant market power, SMP, believed to cause unreliable data supply and high prices. The NCA clarified that the SMP classification promotes fair competition and will introduce measures like balanced interconnection rates and tariff parity. The Director General of NCA, Dr. Joe Anokie, expects data prices to decrease with the launch of the NGIC Wholesale Carrier Neutral Open Access Network, benefiting operators like AT, Telecel, and MTN. Zimbabwe's debt stock has increased by 1.7% in less than a year, reaching $18 billion. This is according to latest government statistics. Talks with multilateral lenders to ease the crisis are faltering due to a lack of reforms by President Emmerson Mnangagwa's government. The country has been struggling to reach an agreement with creditors to restructure its unsustainable debt since the ouster of longtime President Robert Mugabe. The U.S. has withdrawn its support for debt relief talks, citing Harare's reluctance to reform. The country is working on clearing its debt arrears to major international lenders by September and aims to return to international capital markets thereafter. China has been a major creditor to Zimbabwe, providing loans for infrastructure projects. That's our offering on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasomi Peter. The news continues shortly.
In the world of sport, the ever-colourful and joyous Team Nigeria, making its 19th appearance since debuting in 1952 at the Olympics, was once again the signature of all eyes as the 2024 Summer Olympic Games officially got underway today. The grand opening ceremony signaled the start of the multi-sport event set to run through August 11 in Paris and 16 other cities across metropolitan France, plus a subsite in Tahiti. Nigeria, captained by six-time African champion Anu Bayori, saw their flag hoisted by 100-meter hurdler Tobi Amusan, the country's flag bearer for the Games. Amusan was dressed in a well-represented Yoruba outfit of Iro and Buba with gele, showcasing the rich culture of her tribe as an indigene of Ogun State, as well as the team captain, co-flag bearer Anu Bayori. The team paraded along the River Seine with few athletes, each ceremoniously glammed in costumes representing different regions in Nigeria. Looking to improve their performance from the Tokyo Olympic Games, Nigeria is determined to make a mark in Paris. A total of 206 nations and 10,714 athletes will compete for medals in 32 sports and 329 events at the Paris Olympic Games. While sports like football, rugby sevens, handball and archery have already begun, billions of eyes were on the opening ceremony that officially declared the Games open. The spectacular show along the Seine, culminating in the lighting of the Olympic cauldron, set the stage for what promises to be an unforgettable Olympic Games. Nigeria's Sport Minister John Enoh has expressed confidence that Super Falcons will rebound from their 1-0 loss to Brazil. The defeat, which occurred at the Mammoth Antique Stadium in Bodo on Thursday night, was marked by a decisive goal from Gabi Nunes, who scored 8 minutes before halftime. Despite the setback, Enoh remains optimistic about the Super Falcons' prospect at the 2024 Olympic Games. The Super Falcons will face world champions Spain in the next group game on Sunday. South Africa, France, Fiji and Australia will contest the medal semi-finals of the men's competition as the Rugby Sevens put on a show at the Olympic Games in Paris. The Blitzboks stunned New Zealand 14-7 in the opening quarterfinal, this after sneaking into the knockout stages thanks to a 49-5 win over Japan earlier in the day. Host France then shocked the much-fancied Argentina 26-14 as a late try from Antoine Dupont put the seal on an impressive team showing at the Stade de France. The last medal knockout game of Thursday was played out between Australia and the USA, with the former coming out on top with 18-0 to end the pulsating day's action. Those four results mean that Saturday's men medal semi-final will see South Africa take on France and Fiji face up with Australia in two mouth-watering games. Finally, in the world of sport, a male judoka from Iraq, Sajid Zain, has become the first athlete to test positive at this summer's Paris Olympic Games. The International Testing Agency, ITA, revealed on Friday that Zain tested positive for 2 anabolic steroids. The 28-year-old due to compete next Tuesday is provisionally suspended, while a disciplinary case is prosecuted, said the ITA, which oversees the anti-doping program for the International Olympic Committee during the Games. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaru.
Up next is entertainment.
Tonight on Entertainment News, the Nigerian government, through the National Film and Video Censors Board, has responded to calls for the ban of controversial film featuring actress Nancy Sime after she depicted in a viral poster of an upcoming film wearing a niqab during the robbery scene. The niqab is a garment worn by some Muslim women to cover their entire body and face except their eyes. The poster sparked widespread condemnation online, with many Muslims, including the Muslim rights concern Murik, urging the National Film and Video Censors Board to ban the film, describing it as satanic. In a statement today, the National Film and Video Censors Board addressed these concerns, noting that the film is still in production and has not yet been submitted for classification. They further added that the board had reached out to the producers of the film and has taken steps to address the concerns raised with them. In the statement, the board reiterated that as a classification agency, no movie or video work, including skit, that abuses, denigrates, or undermines religious, cultural, and ethnic sensibilities will be overlooked. Grammy Award singer Burna Boy, also known as Damini Ogulu, has marched Thames as the Nigerian artist with the second most certified singles in RIAA history, each boasting 4 certified tracks. Burna Boy achieved this milestone with the gold certification of his collaborative hit Location with British grime star Dave. The Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA, awarded the certification for the sales of 500,000 units in the USA, marking a significant achievement in Burna Boy's career. Prior to this, Burna Boy had already made his mark in the US with 3 certified songs. His hit single, Last Last, achieved platinum status, denoting sales of over 1 million units. Additionally, Ye and On The Low both earned gold certifications, each with sales surpassing 500,000 units. Despite this impressive feat, Wizkid remains the most certified Nigerian artist in the US, with a total of 7 certified singles. This includes hits like Essence, featuring Thames, which has also received platinum certification, reflecting the widespread acclaim and commercial success of Nigerian artists on a global scale. That's all on Entertainment Tonight.
And that's how we leave it for tonight. But before we go, let's take a recap of the headlines. Improvised explosive device injures many in Buni Yadi market in Yobe State. Police confirm involvement of foreign mercenaries in planned nationwide protests. Nigerian government secures $2.2 billion to upgrade country's health sector. We also brought you news that the Senegalese Navy has intercepted 200 migrants. Would like to hear from you. Please share your thoughts. Send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on socials at News Central TV. You can watch live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind company. Have a good weekend. I'll see you on Monday.